2024 is likely to continue being a year that is tough for consumers, with the cost for household food baskets rocketing. Here's how much food prices have shot up in South Africa. According to the February 2024 Household Affordability Index, this is done annually by the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group. The average cost of a household food basket is just over 5,000 rand, a slight decrease of minus 0.9% from January. But it represents an annual increase of almost 350 rand, 7.1% from the 4,900 rand that was recorded in February of 2023. So it means that people are having to make sacrifices and grave choices when it comes to what they can buy, what they leave out, and what alternatives to consider keeping for themselves and their families. Ronnie McKenzie is the president of Farmers United of South Africa, FUSA, and joins me now. Ronnie, it's such a pleasure talking to you again after a long time. Thank you very much for your time. This is a food crisis. What concerns you most about these rising food prices?
Thank you very much, Imani, and to the viewers out there. And it has been a very long time, Imani, and I love your passion of agriculture per se. Imani, I can say to you what concerns one most is the lack of subsidizing of, especially when it comes to so-called emerging farmers, whom are the ones that can actually be participating quite lots into supply of production that we find ourselves having and lacking of access to so-called markets, which is still an ongoing thing. And I can say to you, I'm happy with the current GNU, where we would see probably some likelihood of synergy between the ministers that have been put in place right now, who's Minister Steenhuisen, Dr. Groenewald, and Minister of Basic Education, Siviwe Warube, whom would be able to have the upliftment of so-called emerging farmers, because one is at education and one is at correctional services. We will then need also the likes of Dr. Mutsualedi, who would actually probably find themselves together in order to having food accessible to our people than what we currently see. Because right now it's all about demand and supply. That's why there's this big thing of food prices going so high. And most of our commercial farmers' focus is mainly on the dollar, on export-related issues. So we could be capitalizing on back here at home, which would actually see us reduce the high cost of food prices. And again, with this high tariffs of electricity, which are becoming the biggest challenge to farm, security on the farms, which is also another issue, vandalizing, stealing of our pumps, all those type of things, which we solely believe right now as farmers that we're going to see drastic change in curbing crime, reduction in a whole number of things. Access to markets will now be opened up, I believe strongly so, or as an organization, FUSA, we believe strongly that we're going to see this drastic change. It's not going to be imminent. It's not going to be an immediate thing. It's going to take some time. We are going to see the high rise towards festive. And probably by early next year, we will then start seeing the decline. For now, I don't think it's something that we could be working on.
I mean, it's really interesting, Ronnie, that you say that under, this collective, and you've mentioned all of the names, that you can have a better working relationship, and a lot of the historic problems that you've had, you are likely to see being changed, or the picture for emerging farmers being changed. What is the impact? And maybe you can just go back to that initial point that you raised about the lack of subsidies and so on, really impeding how well you're able to work, how well emerging farmers are able to take up their opportunities and access the market. What does the picture look like now? And you can talk to us from FUSA's perspective in terms of how many of these types of farmers you represent and what some of their consistent problems have been.
Well, there's, Imani, without even having to shy away from the real issues, is that corruption had really taken a toll, a big toll on matters relating to so many things, infrastructure-related issues, roads in our farming community. It comes up with a very big expense in terms of maintaining those trucks, driving through all the time. So many things that had just been going wrong. which I think right now, most things will actually shape up and will enable the so-called emerging farmers to be able to focus on issues to do with farming, agriculture per se. It's not for our farmers to be looking for markets. Our farmers want to farm and they want to know that the markets are available. We need to, I'm very confident that we're going to see more of your likes of city dips being closer to the farms, the likes of, all your big retailers managing to get things directly from the farms, unlike with what has been happening where monopolies have been taking over. And, it has really been very hard. But I would like to believe that with the minister that we have right now, Mr. Steenhuisen, he'll be able to come down to the farmers and have a better understanding in how do we, have that roadmap, how do we connect the dots to enable us to have food to the people. There's no way a country like the Republic of South Africa can have food so expensive. It's really, it doesn't make sense at all. But corruption had actually taken over, and people that are not farmers had been given farms. Nothing happening, no production, nothing.
Yeah,
those are the realities that we've been facing. So right now, the real farmers will start farming and producing, and there will be the route where their foods will be going to. We will have that synergy between the departments that will be able to relieve our farmers from production. So much has gone to waste. A lot goes to waste due to nothing other than silly things, shape, size, all those type of things, where our people...
Ronnie, I want to come back to that because there's a lot that you've said there as well. And I know that this, these issues have been issues that historically FUSA has been, really wrestling with. So I understand that you are relating a lot of the complexities and some of the challenges you're facing. It's interesting, Agri-SA had thanked Toka Didiza, this is the previous minister you're talking about, for her contribution, and they were looking forward to working with the new administration. And if there's time, we'll maybe go to some of those issues where you say there has been, a huge kind of, you've experienced a huge letdown from the previous administration, or, those who've been entrusted with dealing with agriculture and related issues. But this direct to farms, let's go back to the topic around the food pressure, the inflation challenges, and the fact that people in South Africa, many families, aren't able to afford good quality food because of price inflation. Give us some of the ideas, and you touched on one just now, which is direct, from farm to table, basically. What moves has FUSA made to do that, is to streamline that and make it possible? And where do families who, are struggling to shop and typically go to the big retailers, how do they change that buying pattern and connect straight with farmers so that they can possibly even save on the cost of food, particularly vegetables and other produce?
Thank you for asking that, Imani. We've always had a model of aggregation, which makes it so much easier in order for access to food, which, it's something that we still yet to be speaking to the Minister of Agriculture. And he's likely to have a proper understanding because he does come from the Koparasi world of collectiveness in order to getting things done. So with the aggregation model, we do have a number of farmers that have established, aggregation models that show that they do work and they're quite effective in order to having food accessible. What's most important in all this, Imani, is that our farmers want to farm. Our farmers are there to farm, not to actually be doing things of looking for markets. After a farmer has produced whatever it is that they've produced, then again, there's still the struggle of now, where does this go to? And so much does go to waste. So a number of things are going to unfold. FUSA will be part of this, and you will be able to see that the impact that we will be able to bring on and get things done. Food will go down. We will have people that will manage to afford to have, with 100 Rand, to have a full meal. Not as an individual. A family would be able to have a full meal on 100 Rands, which today you can never ever find. 100 Rand is 10 Rand today, basically.
Yeah.
So we will manage to find ways, and we will manage to have the minister also look into subsidizing farmers, moreover when it comes to the green energy, in terms of solar, to reduce the high cost of electricity that we are paying, which has been one of the biggest, challenges that we've been facing. Issues related to labor as well, which labor costs are quite expensive in the Republic, and we are now going to be facing to have to get rid of foreign laborers that we have on our farms, that we are able to, see how best is it that we work with them. The affordability of 4,900 odd, which is basic salaries, that's hefty. So a number of things will have to we need to see how do we meet each other halfway in order to reduce the high cost of living in the Republic of South Africa.
Ronnie, just on the discarding of fruit and vegetables, I mean, I like to call them ugly vegetables. I remember having a conversation with you in a different context about, still viable fruit and vegetable being discarded. Is that an opportunity that we should be tapping into and making sure that they are packaged differently but available, especially to low-income families, so that they can access that, nutritional value that will just be lost in the system?
Correct, Imani, 100% correct. Food, those that are just discarded in that manner, you find it's very nutritional. It's just that it's not meeting certain specs. For the lanis per se, those that actually want the cucumber to be straight out, there's a number of things that we will be touching on that will have the inflation quite significantly. I was shocked when I just heard a report last week of inflation had been dropped by just 1%, not even a percent, something along those lines, and said, can we really be speaking on something that has just dropped by a base? There's a lot that will be done. I'm very confident in this government of national unity, where there's now others keeping eyes on others and others finding a way of working. Service delivery will be there. And as farmers, and I would like to say to my farmers out there, bait fast. If it's got to be put in that way, we will get this country right. We will find ourselves farming. We will be able to feed the nation and many more.
All right. Ronnie McKenzie, President of Farmers United South Africa, thanks for talking to us. We're talking about food, the burdens on families in terms of just the escalating price of food, some of the alternatives Ronnie's sharing with us. But